This morning, a massive and deadly wildfire emergency.
It's gone. That's all we got.
For a second straight night, wind-driven fires engulfing homes. And overnight, a new blaze popping up in the Hollywood Hills and Studio City.
This home now collapsing.
Cars gridlocked, with the famous Hollywood Boulevard evacuated. Along the coast, the Palisades fire exploding to more than 15,000 acres. California's iconic Pacific Coast Highway, now a trail of burnt wreckage.
It's devastating. It is apocalyptic. You feel like you're on a movie set. This does not feel real.
It doesn't even look like a house anymore.
At the Eaton fire burning in Altadena, at least 5 people have died. As the fires began, smoke transforming a sunny day into eerie darkness. Last night, the destruction was plain everywhere. Days after this fire began, the flames continued to spread. This is all that's left of this school.
Good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Give me a follow on X at @Green_Jericho. Like and subscribe to this channel here. Like and subscribe to Green's House. And make sure you give me a follow on Instagram at JGTalk2. Since Zuckerberg has taken his leash off, will they loosen the reins on Instagram and allow me to get my old account back? We'll see. But you saw that clip. It's heartbreaking. And, you know, wildfires happen all the time. Unfortunately, they happen all too often in California because of a lot of reasons and reasons that could be fixed. That's why these wildfires and the devastation is so impactful. Of course, people losing their property and their businesses and their homes and their lives in some cases. Those are awful, but it hurts a little bit more. It stings a little bit more when it could have been prevented, and it could have been. Now, are we going to stop Mother Nature from doing what she does? I remember a few years back when I lived in Salinas, there was a fire that was started by lightning. There's nothing you could do about that. No one can catch that lightning bolt or block it from hitting the ground. But what we can do is minimize the fuel that burns when the fire starts, which means clearing brush, some deforestation in some areas, getting rid of all the trees and branches that die and dry out. You know, a couple of years ago, I went camping with a friend of mine and his son. We take our annual camping trip with our boys, and we had the campfire going. And we were looking for, you know, little tiny kindling to start the fire. And we saw an area that must have had 8 inches to a foot of dried pine needles like this, bone dry. So you take a handful of those, a few handfuls, we put it in the fire and we light it. The way those pine needles burn in the heat that they burn with, you had to take a step back. Those little tiny pine needles burn with such intensity. Could you imagine thousands of acres full of that shit? And when a firestorm gets large enough, you saw this in the fire bombings of World War II in Dresden and Tokyo, they start feeding themselves. The winds pick up, they start drawing in oxygen to feed themselves, so you no longer need fire bombs or other things to start the fire. The fire has become self-reliant, self-aware, like Skynet. So the fire begins to feed itself. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Well, you could put water on it, but in order to put water on it, you need water. No, guys, this is not a fireman's hat. I'm not wearing the cool yellow jacket. I don't have a fire truck parked over there, but I do have common sense, and common sense tells me most of these fires, when you put water on them, they go out. I know, it's stupid. But here's some of the pictures from Los Angeles. You can see the ocean right here. You know how much you got to pay to live that close to the ocean, to have an ocean view? And will this cause Southern California to wake up? Will this cause a lot of those rich elites down there who fuck this state up to open their eyes and realize the incompetence of local and state government? And this goes from the city level politics all the way up to the top to Gavin Bang Your Wife Newsom. And I got a clip. He was hanging out with Anderson Cooper in one of these areas that was being burned. And what he says, it won't shock you. It'll just piss you off. Look at this. These images are insane. And I was telling somebody else, I was talking to my buddy Gabe last night, and when you see these fires, when you see a wildfire, when it's out in a forest somewhere, yes, it's terrible. But not too many structures are being lost. Not too many homes are being lost because most people don't live way out in rural areas. In that handful of properties and homes that are lost, of course, that's terrible. But when a fire comes to downtown, where you do your grocery shopping and you eat food and you hang out and you walk around, where you live your life, when the fire comes into a city, it's just something different. We saw this a few years ago in Paradise, California. The irony of a place called Paradise that ended up being the third level of hell. But that was the first time that I saw a fire come through a city. Like, you're looking at Walgreens and that shit's burned down. I remember seeing a picture of a Jack in the Box that just had a few things that didn't burn. Like half the sign was still there and you could still see the frame of some tables. Now, I don't know how to explain it. Do you guys know what I mean when I say that? It's something different when you see it in a town, downtown, in a city, in a neighborhood. That's somebody's house. That's somebody's vehicle being engulfed in flames, and all you can do is run to safety. That's all you can do. Fire. We had a fire at my house growing up. Luckily, it didn't take our home, but it took a few acres. Fire is violent, it's fast, and it's unforgiving. If you are in its path, it will burn you. Fire is Mother Nature's bad side. Fire is Mother Nature's anger. That shit is violent and quick. But if you take away the fuel that it uses to burn, here's something else I learned when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. If there's an electrical fire, any fire, you turn off the fuel. What's fueling it? If it's an electrical fire, turn off the power. If it's some kind of flammable liquid that's coming out, shut off the source. That's why they have the emergency shut-off valve at gas stations. So you can cut off the fuel source. So if you come through with some forestry equipment and you clear the dead trees and the dead brush, when the fires come through, there'll be something to burn. But the only thing left to burn will be healthy, wet, green trees. Those don't burn so well. Can you stop Mother Nature? Hell no. Or as my dad would say, hell no. But you can maybe redirect her a little bit and maybe lessen her rage. Speaking of rage, are you ready for some? Are you ready to be angry? Are you ready for your blood to come to a boil? Well, here you go.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter in this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here. What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter in this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale, but again, that's going to be determined by the local.
So that's got to be determined by the local people. What do you want me to do? I'm just the governor. I'm just all their bosses. What do you want me to do? And you hear how raspy his voice is? If you haven't been listening to me that long, the reason I think his voice is like that is because when he goes down to hell to visit Satan, who is his boss, I think it scorched his vocal cords. Well, you know, the local people will figure that out. What do you mean the local people will figure that out, fool? That's you. You're the one who won't let the water come from up north and fill these reservoirs. There's a reservoir where I used to live, within an hour of where I used to live, called the San Luis Reservoir. And you had to drive over Pacheco Pass to get over the San Luis Reservoir. And as a kid, you would see people pulling over to the side of the road, walking a few feet, and throwing their fishing pole or their fishing line in the water. Now the water is so low that you would have to climb down there. It might take you 30 minutes to an hour to get to the water. Once you climb down there, trees have grown where the water used to be. 30, 35-foot trees. You know how long it takes for a tree to get that big? Have grown where the water used to be. You can see where the water line was. Why is it not full? Why are all the reservoirs in California not at capacity? Why are there not more? Do you know how much snowfall we had last year? How much rainfall we had last year? The snow drifts were 3 stories high, 4 or 5 stories high up in the Tahoe area. Do you know where that water went? It went to the ocean. Well, doesn't the ocean already have enough water in it? It's the ocean. So why wouldn't you collect some of that water, not only to fight fires, but for recreational use? And here's an idea, being that California's economy is based on agriculture, maybe you could have some of that water stored up for farmers. I know I'm talking crazy. Remember Tracy Ullman? Go home, go home. I'm just being crazy. What movie is this from? If somebody gets that one, you're good. But that's just crazy talk. Why would you take an abundance of something that your population needs and hold on to some of it? I don't know. Crazy talk. Crazy. Well, it gets even crazier. Did Gavin bang your wife Newsom, not get your blood boiling? Okay, I got more. How about the mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Karen Bass, and you'll never guess where she was when these fires started.
Mayor Karen Bass pressed after arriving back in the city from a trip to Ghana.
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Bass later saying budget cuts didn't affect the response. During the peak of the firestorm, city officials say hydrants unable to keep up with the extreme demand.
What is going on with the water situation?
We have had some issues with water. If you stick enough straws into a glass of water, it's going to empty faster.
Water! You heard that? Water? Yes, that's true. If you stick a bunch of straws in a glass, that water's going to go, it's going to disappear faster. But if that glass is so big that it can hold enough water for everybody, well, then nobody has a problem. But you heard it right. Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles was in Ghana. Here, I'll ask the question for you. Why in the fuck would a city mayor in America be going to Ghana? She wasn't there on vacation. She was there for a presidential inauguration. And I don't care if that was some kind of move to strengthen the partnership between the city of Los Angeles and its Guyanese. Is that what you call them? Residents. I don't give a shit about them. I don't give a shit about Ghana. I don't give a shit about any other country other than America. But for some reason, you were hanging out in Ghana when your city was on fire. Now, did she break her neck to get back here to help the people of Los Angeles and ensure that they have the resources they need during this trying time? Of course not. And why was she just standing there? Say something. You're just going to stand there and not say shit? Oh, and you see the thumbnail. Oh, yes. The one on the left, that's the fire chief of Los Angeles. That is Kristen Crowley. You see her annual income. $650,000 a year. That other softball team member in the middle, that's the recruitment manager for the Los Angeles Fire Department. You see what she makes, over $325,000 a year. And then you have the assistant fire chief who makes over $500,000 a year. And yes, I have the Subaru logo. And do you see the little scissors right there on Karen Bass's her shoulders? And Karen Bass makes over $300,000 a year to do what? Fail. Now, Karen Bass's failures started way before this fire in the city of Los Angeles. But you mean to tell me the city of Los Angeles found the four most qualified lesbians to run serious departments in their city? The fire department? You found the 3 qualified lesbians to run your fire department. Because all of them they are all part of the alphabet soup group. The fire chief says she wants to get more diversity. They ask her, is there a number? She said, there's no number. There's never enough. That's a quote. She says, quote, there's never enough. What in the hell is going on here? Those women are not in those positions because they're qualified. They're in there because they eat puss, and one of them is a woman of color. And she's the first black. She's not the first black. She's obviously mixed. Why are you shitting on her white parent? She's mixed. She's not black. Isn't that funny how they now bathe themselves in the rules and laws of Jim Crow? That's a Jim Crow law. It's called the 1-drop rule. If you got 1 drop of black, you're black. That was bad. Jim Crow was bad, right? Or Jim Eagle. Jim Crow was bad, wasn't it? Am I missing something? Am I being gaslit? Jim Crow was bad, but you take things from the Jim Crow era and bring them into 2025. Okay. But it's kind of funny, like law enforcement, like being a police officer, to have women firefighters, it's based on strength. Yeah, can they do it? Yeah, but can they do it the best? Is there not a man out there who can carry more weight faster than you? Well, then that's who I want. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care what you want to do. I want to be a firefighter. Good for you. I want to be in the NFL, but I can't do it. I don't have what it takes. Neither do you. Everybody doesn't have access to everything. Some shit you are not qualified for. And you, ladies, are not qualified to be firefighters. Are you shitting me? You think they're the best of the best? You think they're good enough to be hanging out with Eric Roberts? You think they're the best of the best? And I've even read some reports where they're saying some of these fires might be set on purpose. But I think we can take it all the way back to Bill Clinton. I think it was 1993. The Northwest Forest Plan is when they started looking at the decline of the spotted owl population, and they decided to take X amount of millions of acres and make it so they couldn't log on that property to bolster the numbers of the spotted owl. The water wasn't put where it was supposed to be in the reservoirs and other spots to save the smelt. I don't know anything about a smelt. I don't know if it's a small fish or a big fish. It sounds like a small fish. But I don't give a shit about it. Fuck that spotted owl and fuck that smelt. They can all die. I hope the water in the fires made the water so hot that all the smelt boiled and floated to the top. I hope all the spotted owls were stuck in this one spot and they all burned to death. I don't give a shit about no owl or no fish. I care about humans. So you have people walking up the PCH holding all their belongings, abandoning their vehicles and choking on smoke because of a fucking bird and a fish? A bird and a fish are worth this? A bird and a fish are worth that. You see all that white there? You see the white? That's ashes. That means nothing is left. An owl and a fish are worth that? Take all those fish and all those owls and throw it in that burning structure. I don't give a shit about any of them. I care about people. Our lives are worth more than some stupid animal. If it's endangered, let it die. You know how many things we've hunted into extinction? Are you okay? I'm okay. But that's that whole California environment. We love Mother Earth, man. But we'll let you piss and shit and put heroin needles in your dick on the street, man. You either care about people or you don't. And something I was telling Gabe last night before I get out of here, and I will end with the good gun because damn it, we need some good news. And I often hear people refer to China as a paper tiger, but are we paper tigers? Is America the world's biggest paper tiger? Because, and I think this is the fault of the media, television, movies. We grew up thinking, and even into our adulthood, that the CIA, the FBI, and all these government entities with the F, the federal this and the federal that, and all these huge budgets and this bottomless pit of resources. I thought you guys had shit together. I thought we could trust you. I thought when something bad happens, we can turn to the government who has the most resources to come and help us. We thought that you guys were competent enough to take care of us when we need you to and run shit while we're living our lives. But apparently, they're not. Apparently, they're a bunch of Keystone dumbass cops who can't do shit right. Karen Bass took $18 million from the fire department. We're sending we can't find $24 billion to eradicate homelessness. We just, oops. Whoopsie doodle, we lost $24 billion. So maybe we should do what Gavin Newsom said. Maybe we should let the local people figure it out. Give us our tax money back and we will fortify our own neighborhoods. We'll protect our own homes and businesses from natural disasters. We'll get out there and clean the forest, you piece of shit. They're inept and incompetent. So why do they have all this money and influence and power and resources? There's probably a fucking parking lot somewhere that has a bunch of brand new Caterpillar deforestation, raking, earth moving machines that are brand new. And the reason they can't get to it is because of some red tape bullshit bureaucracy. It takes 3.5 to 7 years for something to get approved through the Environmental Protection Agency in California. There's something that can help us now, but we can't attain it for 3.5 to 7 years because there's too many of you fat cat bureaucrats gorging yourselves in the trough of taxpayer money and you don't give a fuck about us. But maybe then all the rich people, all the millionaires and the billionaires' homes are up in smoke. Maybe it'll change something. Maybe you'll start wringing your hands at the powers that be instead of telling us how shitty we are because we don't want some Ku Klux trans member taking a piss next to our daughter. But like I said, here's your good gun. You guys ready for some good news, man? You ready to hear a good person do something good with a gun to a bad person? Oh, before I go, here is a cherry on top. Sloppy Joe is so out of touch. If you cut off both of Sloppy Joe's arms, he would be more in touch, if that makes sense, than he is now. He's standing next to Gavin Bang Your Wife Newsom. They're talking about the wildfires, and listen to what this fool has to say.
Lives lost, traditions, lifestyles, places torn asunder. This means the world to us, and just publicly, because I think this is important. The president happened to be in the region, in town. It's impossible for me to express the level of appreciation and cooperation we received from the White House and this administration. So on behalf of all of us, Mr. President, thank you for being here, but not just being here today. Thank you for being here since the minute of this incident when there was a 10-acre fire less than 24 or so hours ago. Deep gratitude.
It's astounding what's happening. With only one piece of good news, my son lives out here and his wife. They got a notification yesterday their home was probably burned to the ground. Today, it appears that it may be still standing, we're not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great-grandfather as of today. My granddaughter, 10-pound, 4-ounce baby girl, a baby boy. So you can remember this day for a lot of wrong reasons. Anyway.
Hey, Gavin Newsom, get Sloppy Joe's dick out of your mouth and butt. That was disgusting. Oh, the minute, and thank you so much. And then Sloppy Joe says, my son Hunter, the crack smoker, My crackhead son might have lost his house, but we found out today it might still be standing. But I'm going to be a great grandpa, everybody. Hey, everybody who's cold and shivering tonight and you're warming your hands over the embers that used to be your family's home, I'm going to be a great grandpa, everybody. Good gun, take us home. You know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. I'm out.
Deputies swarming the corner of Firestone and Studebaker just after 9 following a deadly shooting inside this tobacco shop. The store owner telling detectives 4 masked men came in attempting to rob him. That's when he pulled out a gun and fired. One of the suspects was hit, later found suffering in an alleyway. 3 others running off into a nearby neighborhood. One man came face to face with 2 of them.
They looked at me and, my little dog started barking and then they just ran across the street.
Emilio Gonzalez didn't even realize at the time what he was seeing.
I got more scared when I got home and started seeing the news. That's when I started realizing, oh my God, that's the guys I saw. Looking back, I now know that they had watched their associate get shot in the chest and they were getting the heck out of there.
Investigators ended up tracking down 2 of the suspects hiding in a shed about a mile away. A third could still be on the run. Now detectives need to piece together exactly what happened.
It's going to be hours and hours of investigation, witness statements, possible surveillance, and then composing everything together, presenting it to the district attorney's office.
As for the store owner, Emilio says he goes into the classic tobacco shop on occasion, adding that the store owner is a nice guy. This action to protect property and people is sending a big message.
Awesome. Don't come to Norwalk and mess around. That's what it tells me. They thought that they were going to get cigarettes, apparently. Well, they didn't get cigarettes.